Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head down to Germany once again for the first time in what feels like a good little while. I can't remember the last German beers that I reviewed on the channel, but it might well have been something from the likes of Fürstviatschik or Frau Gruber in the more American style. But as you'll know if you've watched the channel for any length of time, I'm a huge fan of my traditional German beers as well, and I always enjoy making these videos for the channel. I actually got into beer on the back of having tried the Rauch beers from Bamberg, Schlenkerla and Spezial, and then when I moved to Germany to study, I discovered Helles and Dunkel and Doppelbock and all the various other things. But yeah, for this review then, we are going to have a look at a beer from a brewery that has never featured on the channel before. This is also a style of beer that I haven't tried too many of, and you don't come across them all that often, even in Germany from memory. But really looking forward to it, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. So for this one then, we are going to go to the state of Bavaria, Bayern, in the southeast of Germany, and to be specific, we're going to a little town called Teisendorf, which is in the very southeastern part of the state, actually just to the north a little bit of Berchtesgaden, which is the very kind of southeastern extremity of Bavaria and Germany, and it's just over the border from Salzburg in Austria. But we're going to have a look at my first beer from Privatbrauerei M.C. Wieninger. And this one is their Zwickelbier. So it comes in at 5% ABV, and of course this one is a lager. So many of you will know the likes of the Helles, the Dunkel, the Schwarzbier, the Doppelbock, the German lagers, of course the Czech lagers, there are the Czech equivalents as well, the Svetli, Leitzak, Czerny and Tmavi. You've got the Vienna lager in Austria as well. But in Bavaria, there are actually three other types of lagers and probably more that I don't know about. But yeah, basically this is one of the three types of Keller lagers that you get in Bavaria. So when it comes to these Keller lagers, Keller of course translates into English as cellar. So yeah, these beers are basically aged in cellars, basically, in aging cellars. But you have three types of these Keller beers as far as I know. And if you are watching from Bavaria and you know that there's more of them, let me know about that in the comment section below. That would be interesting to learn. But you have the Zwickel, the Keller, and the Landbier. So the Zwickel, from what I understand, is the one that is a little bit less hoppy. You have the Keller beer, which is a little bit more kind of yeasty orientated and a little bit higher in alcohol. Usually the Keller beers are around 5.5%, if I remember rightly. And you also have the Landbier, which I think is the hoppiest one of them. And I think it's also got a little bit more of a malty character as well. So yeah, you have the Zwickel, Keller and Landbier. This one is a Keller beer, and those are the three types of Bavarian Keller lager beers from what I understand. To give you the technical definition, a lager beer is of course a beer that undergoes bottom fermentation or low temperature fermentation. In other words, usually between about 10 and 12 degrees Celsius fermentation. So yeah, that's a very quick summary of the lager beers. I think the other style of lager the other two that I forgot to mention that are very prominent in Germany as well would be the Märzen and also the Bock beers as well. Those are also lager beers. But yeah, I think this one should be really interesting. Another brewery that I've never tried anything from before, and I hadn't heard of these guys until they appeared in Systembolaget here in Sweden. So we got this beer as part of the Tillfälliga temporary assortment through Systembolaget up here in Sweden at some time in the middle of February. I've had this beer in the fridge for a little while, and I've just not been able to get around to reviewing it yet, but here we go. Looking forward to this one. 5% Zwickel beer, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on it as well. So yeah, let's go for it then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Privatbrauerei M.C. Wieninger. This is the very first time I'm trying one of their beers, as I mentioned, but there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the German beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, but nowhere near as frequently as I would like. So if you are watching from Germany and you know a good web shop that will send beer to Sweden, do let me know about that in the comment section below. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is massively, massively appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then to tell you a little bit about Privatbrauerei M.C. Wieninger. So this brewery, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Teisendorf, which is in southeastern Bavaria, just to the northwest of Berchtesgaden, in the very southeastern extremity of Bavaria and Germany, and just very close to Salzburg in Austria, which is over the border to the east. But documents apparently mention a brewery in Teisendorf around the year 1600. Over the next few years, apparently there was various disputes with the Archbishopdom of Salzburg and the owner of this brewery, and then in 1666, owing to these disputes, the brewery was taken into the ownership of the Archbishopdom of Salzburg. Remember, at this time, you would be talking the Holy Roman Empire, and I'm not sure exactly where the borders were at that point in time, because you know the European borders have changed so much. But yeah, I think at that stage, I don't know if Salzburg would have been part of the Holy Roman Empire, or if you know this area, Teisendorf, would have been part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. But anyway, that's that. But over the next few years, there's not too many mentions of the brewery in history. But then a little bit later on, in 1813, following the secularization that came with, I think it was Napoleon that introduced that, but following the secularization, this brewery was bought by Philipp Wieninger, who was from Trautmannsdorf, and his family had a bit of history of running breweries and inns and stuff like this. But his son, Max Christian, took over the running of the brewery, and it's his name that is still officially the name of the brewery as well. So MC is Max Christian, and this can be traced back to his time in charge of the brewery. But the company has since passed through 7 generations of the family, and this family has actually become a little bit of a brewing dynasty from what I understand. They own various breweries and restaurants around the state of Bavaria, and this includes ones in places such as Wilshofen, Dachau, Fürstenzell, Pilsting, and Munich itself. So yeah, there's quite a bit of history with this Wieninger family, actually, from what I understand. But today the company is managed by Christian Wieninger, who is the 7th generation, like I said. Andreas Brugmann is also in there as well, and the current brewmaster is Bernhard Löw, and they produce around 100,000 hectolitres of beer per year. So that is that maybe about 10 million litres? Am I remembering the thing rightly? Yeah, I think it might be about 10 million litres or something. Usually, yeah, you multiply by 100 for hectolitres. But yeah, as of March 2021, when I'm reviewing this beer for you, these guys have produced around 60 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and yeah, they are mainly traditional German styles of beer. But as I've told you in previous videos, quite a few of the more traditional breweries are starting to brew other styles that are not from the same part of Germany that they're in and stuff like this. There's quite a lot of interesting changes going on in the German beer scene. Quite a few brewers are having a go at, you know, pale ales and stuff like this. It's quite interesting to go and have a look at some of the different beers in the Brauhouses in Germany these days. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Privatbrauerei M.C. Wieninger. I hope I did all right with the pronunciations of this. I always get a bit annoyed at myself because I learned a little bit of German when I was over there, so I get annoyed if my pronunciations aren't right, so fingers crossed that they were. But yeah, like I say, that's all I can really tell you about these guys. If you want to learn more, check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that they've done. They've got quite a nice website as well, and you can look at their brewery restaurant and things like that as well. But yeah, let's get on and have a taste of this beer then. I'm curious to see what it has in store for us. So as you can see, this one is a half-litre bottle. I think I must have paid about 25 or 30 Swedish kroners for this one. Let's assume 30. So that's roughly about €3. You probably will pay about €1 or something like this in Germany. Beer is ridiculously cheap down there. So yeah, I think I paid about 29 or so, 20 or 30, 25 or 30 Swedish kroners for this. So yeah, half-litre bottle, and yeah, I think it should work out very nicely. Don't mind paying this for the German beers because you always get good quality, but you can see the artwork on this one is a little bit traditional. You know, this is kind of what you expect from the Bavarian breweries. And there you can see the little top label. Always love that on German beers. And then I'm just trying to figure out what way to show you this bottle cap. But yeah, this is the bottle cap here. we go. So that'll be going in my little cup to keep as well. But yeah, like I said to you, this one is a 5% Zwickelbier, which is one of the traditional Bavarian style, the Bavarian Keller lagers, if we can call them that. So yeah, 5% ABV this one. Let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Really looking forward to this. Oh, I do recommend some other Zwickels and Kellers and land beers and stuff like that for me in the video description below. It's one of the things that I really love about Germany is that in different regions you get so many different beers and stuff. It's a bit annoying for people like me who live outside of Germany, and so it's very difficult to get things from different places. But you know, when you go there, it's always good because you can try the local produce. I love that about Germany, how the focus is always on local produce. But yeah, this looks pretty nice, I have to say. Just a little bit of sediment on the bottom of the bottle there, but I'm sure we'll still get a wee bit in there too. But yeah, it looks very nice. Let me just realign this because then my OCD is happy. And yeah, there we go. So as you can see with this one, it's actually a nice kind of, it's a little bit more amber than I thought it might have been, to be honest with you. But it certainly looks nice. Before the head kind of fades away and disappears, you can see that it's got a solid 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head rather than perfect white, but that will fade away fairly soon, I would say. And you can see that this beer, as you would expect from one of these Keller lagers, it does have a nice little bit of a natural haze to it. But in terms of colour, I would describe this one as being a very light sort of amber colour. It's almost the same colour as you might expect from a Märzen or something like this. So yeah, it looks, it does look very, very nice, and it goes well in my Pilsner Urquell glass. So yeah, I love this big stein that they gave me when they took me to the brewery. That was great. But yeah, nice little bit of natural haze in there. I think, if memory serves me correctly, this might be a little bit darker than some of the other Zwickels that I've had, because you can get them and they're very light and blonde. But remember, the colour of these beers depends on two things. One, the type of malt that you use in the first instance, and then two, the length of your wort boil. The longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour. So yeah, this one maybe had has a bit of caramel or carapils or caramunich or something like that in it to give it this more ambery colour. I don't know how long they boil lager beers for. Maybe it's about, you know, an hour or 90 minutes. Probably something in between that. But yeah, looks very nice beer, this one. Let's have a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on with this. Yeah, so I mean, straight away with this one. Yeah, straight away with this one, you can smell that nice big sort of yeasty note out of the beer. Now, as I've told you in other videos, I'm a huge fan of lager beers. I think lager beers for a long time have been very overlooked in favour of, you know, ales when it comes to the whole kind of craft beer movement. But I do wonder if there is a bit of a tie between the Czech, you know, these more hazy lager type beers, the Keller beers in Bavaria, are mainly found in Bavaria from what I remember. And I do wonder if there's a little bit of a crossover with Czech here, because all the Czech beers tend to be a little bit more bready and a little bit yeasty in my experience. The Czech lagers are a little bit more like that, whereas generally speaking the German ones are a little bit more kind of crisp, if you like. So I wonder if there is a bit of a connection there. But straight away when you go and smell this beer, you know, it comes across as being really nice and bready and yeasty and things like that. You've got a good mix of things in there. So definitely a nice little bit of a smooth white bready backbone to this one. You can smell a little bit more of a kind of bread crusty quality in there as well. One thing I do miss about living in Germany is the bread. The German bread was, you know, top notch. I always loved the German bread. But yeah, with this one you do get a nice little bit of brown sugar there. I can smell a bit of a straight up caramel, but there is a little bit more of a kind of biscuity, like McVitie's digestive biscuit sort of thing coming out of this one. So yeah, I don't know. I think the Germans these days tend to learn more American English, so it does have a wee bit of a kind of cookie, biscuity crispness sort of thing to it. You do get a little bit of that going on in this beer for sure. But yeah, the aroma of this one I think is very, very nice. So yeah, the backbone of this beer I think goes together really nicely. So yeah, big white bready base to the beer. It maybe develops a little bit more of a kind of brown wholemealy bread type quality the more that you smell of it. But yeah, some nice bread crusty notes, sweet caramel, bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing as well. And yeah, I just really like how all of that goes together. So yeah, this beer I think is the aroma wise, it is kind of what you'd expect on the malty and yeasty side of things. You can smell a little bit of the just almost the fluffiness and doughiness out of this beer. So yeah, it's going to have a wee bit of booziness as well, I think, with that brown sugar, which is good. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, this is again what you kind of expect. It'll probably be Hallertau hops that are in this one. Hallertau, of course, is a famous hop growing region in Bavaria. There's also Tettnang over in Baden-Württemberg, but being a Bavarian brewery, it's more likely that being a Bavarian brewery, it is more likely that it's the Bavarian hops that they're using. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things for this one, you get a little bit of that typical kind of soft earthiness that you're going to get from the Hallertau hops. There's a wee bit of herbal quality in there, but you get a nice little bit of bright floral quality out of this one. There's a bit of lighter grassiness in there as well, and all of these are things that you would expect. But compared to a Helles, for example, or as I said, the Keller beer itself tends to be a little bit more hoppy than this. This one does not have too pronounced a green component, I would say. You don't get too much out of the green side of the hops. So yeah, worth bearing that in mind, definitely. But yeah, it works. It does work very, very well. But yeah, in terms of the fruity side of this beer, it's kind of what you'd expect. There's a nice sort of peary ester coming out of it. You get a little bit of an almost kind of appley thing, and just a lot of grassiness there. I mean, it is kind of what you'd expect. Yeah, I think pear for me is the most kind of prominent fruity character. Yeah, a little bit of pear, a little bit of a kind of more appley, spicy kind of note out of it, and then just some of that kind of grassiness in there. So yeah, it's got a really nice, it does have a very, very nice aroma to it, this one. I like how, I do like how all of that goes together. So yeah, smells like a nice beer, this one. I just wish we could get the Zwickels and the Keller beers a little bit more often. We've got back home in Scotland, we have a brewery now called New Barns, and I would love to see them have a go. They do a very nice Pilsner. I would love to see them have a go at a Keller beer and a Zwickel, and really highlight the differences between these kind of, I don't know if you can call them sub-styles, but anyway, it'd be cool to see New Barns, I think, have a go at them, because they're very good at these more sessionable beers. And that's one of the great things I love about German beer, is just the sessionability of them. My friend Peter over at the Clueless Drinker, he's a great fan of these traditional German beers as well, so big shout out to him. Make sure you go and check out his channel. But yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. So this one is the Zwickelbier from Privatbrauerei M.C. Wieninger in Teisendorf in the very southeast of Bavaria down in Germany. Let's get stuck in. Slange, Skål, cheers, Prost. That is nice. I like that. Definitely a very kind of bready lager beer, this one, but that's kind of what you'd expect from these Keller lagers, absolutely. Yeah, that's a really, really solid beer. I like this, so thumbs up to Privatbrauerei M.C. Wieninger for this. They've done a good job with this one. Yeah, I like it. As I say, this is a style that I'm not overly familiar with when it comes to German beer, but I wish I was. Maybe I need to go and live in Munich for a couple of years and do some work down there, and spend some time reviewing more German beers and stuff like this. But yeah, I really enjoy these, and I just wish there were, as I say, generally speaking, lager beers have been a little bit underrepresented in various countries that are now brewing craft beer, including here in Sweden, although over the last kind of 18 months or so, there's been more and more lager beers coming out. Some are very, very good quality. So hopefully we start to see a few more breweries having a go at the different German beer styles, in fact. But yeah, this one is pretty damn solid. So yeah, where do we start with this one then? Yeah, straight away then, across the middle of your palate, you can feel that nice, soft, white bready quality. That just forms a blanket in the middle of your tongue. In the very centre of your palate, you've got a little bit of a sweet caramel in there. And then as you move out towards the kind of edges of the palate, you can feel it's got a little more of a kind of biscuity edge to it. It's actually a very straight shooting beer, this one, in a lot of ways. But I think that, it's kind of what you would expect, but it just is really nicely crafted. And that's one of the things that you get with these German beers. A lot of them are, you know, a lot of them are very kind of straight shooting in their flavour profiles, I think, but I mean, I like that. I think these lager beers are very underappreciated compared to IPAs and stuff like this. So yeah, this beer gets a thumbs up from me, absolutely. The further you progress into the aftertaste with this one, you can feel it getting kind of progressively more sort of yeasty, if you like. But yeah. So yeah, to say, nice white bready base to it. It does become a little bit more wholemealy the further you go into the aftertaste. There's a wee bit of a sweet caramel on the very centre of your tongue, and then as you move out towards the edge of the palate, there's a little bit more of a kind of biscuity, you know, a little bit more of a sort of biscuity, McVitie's digestive sort of thing to this beer as well. So I really like how that goes together. So that's the centre of your palate then. If you go further back towards that border region between middle third and back third of your palate, you will notice that there is a bit of a thicker, there is a little bit of a thickening of the bread, if you like, and that kind of just builds up. But then you get a bit more of a kind of grainy, bread crusty sort of thing coming out of it as well, which I do like. But then yeah, in the back, pardon me, in the back of that sort of, in the back of that that back third of your tongue, you can definitely feel the more yeasty things. It's almost like quite fluffy in the back of that front third of your palate. So yeah, you can just feel that it's kind of thickened up a little bit, which is really, really nice. So yeah, nice bit of a thicker, doughy, yeasty kind of quality there. You can feel from the back third of your palate as you move further forward, the thickness just drops away a little bit like this, and then in the middle third of your palate, the bready notes just feel a little bit more kind of dense, if that makes sense at all. But yeah, I certainly can appreciate how that goes together in this one, absolutely. And it does get sweeter, I think, the further you go into the aftertaste too. But yeah, in the back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness. We'll move on to the hoppy side of things now. I think we've covered the malty and yeasty side of things as much as we need to. In the back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little touch of earthiness, but as you move further forward, it's a little bit kind of earthy. Then as you reach the kind of front corners of the palate, it's a little bit more floral and aromatic in a sense. So I like how that, I do like how that goes together. But round the front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and grassy, and yeah, it is what you'd expect from, pardon me, Hallertau, Hallertau hops. It's got a nice green component to it, and it just gives the beer a little bit of, it gives the beer just a little bit of bite almost, if you like. It's just a little light bitterness to this one. But yeah, nice little bit herbal quality, a little bit floral in the front corners, then a light grassiness there. But let's focus on the front third of your tongue, and as I always say, the front third of your tongue are where you get those nice fruity juicy esters just rolling their way out of the beer. So yeah, front third of your palate, then on that border region between front and middle third of your palate, you can feel there's a little bit of a kind of thicker, bready sort of thing coming out of it. It's got a little bit of a kind of bread crusty, grainy kind of thing, and then the basis of that kind of front third of your palate is a more, the basis of that front third of your palate is a more soft, white bready kind of note. So yeah, I like how that, I do like how that side of the beer goes together too. So yeah, on top of that though, this is where you get the nice fruity esters. So let's focus on those. So yeah, if you go towards the back of that front third of your palate, you can feel, for me, this is a nice sort of peary, maybe even got a teeny little bit of like apricot or something in it, but that's very minimal. But for me, the fruity part of your palate, the back half of that front third of your tongue, is more kind of soft and smooth and peary. You can really feel the yeasty elements of the beer in there as well. But then as you move further forward, the beer develops. It's got a little touch of a, pardon me, it does have a little touch of a more kind of appley note to it, and then on the very kind of front edge of the palate, it's maybe got a teeny little bit of a slightly gooseberry sort of thing, but then you get the grassy esters pushing their way out of the beer as well. So I really like how all of that goes together in this one. This is really nicely done. So yeah, it's a solid beer, this one. It's not anything surprising, but I think it's just really really well crafted, and that's what you want from German beer. You want them just to be nice, drinkable and sessionable, and that's exactly what you get here. So yeah, my first Zwickelbier in quite a little while. I can see what they mean about this one being a little bit less hoppy and more kind of yeasty orientated, if you like. But yeah, I think it comes together really nicely. In terms of the mouthfeel then, what can we say about this one, just to round off? Yeah, in terms of that then, I would say this beer, it's kind of at the top end of light-bodied for me. The carbonation is very, very smooth. It does have a wee bit of an oily character to it, and I think that helps bring out the kind of more sweet brown sugary elements in the beer. But yeah, the smoothness of this one is the yeasty character of the beer. This is quite low in IBUs. I would be surprised if this is any more than 15 IBUs. It's got that sort of Hefeweizen level kind of bitterness to it. But yeah, the fruits are very nice. A little bit of an oily character in there, and I think that that goes together very nicely in this one too. So yeah, I think it's a really, really nicely done beer, this one. I've certainly enjoyed tasting this one for you here on the channel. So yeah, I think we can round this off here. This one was the Zwickelbier from Privatbrauerei M.C. Wieninger. Hopefully I've pronounced that right in this video, in Teisendorf in the southeast of Bavaria in Germany. So yeah, interesting. But yeah, this one was a 5% Zwickelbier, not a style we come across too often, but I've really enjoyed kind of refamiliarising myself with this. So I'm going to go and enjoy the rest of this, and I might film another review after, but I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know your own thoughts on the beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from the Wieninger brewery as well, and hopefully we can review a few more of these beers at some point in the fairly near future. Let me know some other Zwickels that I should have a look out for as well, and some Kellers and land beers as well. Could be quite interesting. Thanks again for watching. Check out my social media, and I'll catch you guys very soon. Slàinte, skål, cheers, prost.